We continue live right here for the Island Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Bob Pompeani with you till 11 o'clock. Join us for the news after that. And then the first of 17 editions of the Mike Tomlin Show, presented by 84 Lumber. That comes up 11:35 right after the newscast. We taped that show earlier this week. Le'Veon Bell still not here. We'll talk about that. I'd like to get your take on that. One of the prevailing notions out there, and this is floating around because this is what happens, speculation when you're out. Did he smoke marijuana again? Is he in position to fail a drug test? Is that why he's delayed his arrival? Who knows? He promised this team he would be here at the start of the regular season. And that's why guys like Ramon Foster and Marquise Pouncey turned on him. They had his back all the way through drug suspensions, missing a walkthrough before a playoff game. They never complained. But now this hits home when you go against your word. That could be one of the reasons why. No word from Le'Veon Bell tonight. Let's go to the lines. A lot of people out there. JR in Cooperstown. What's up, JR? How are you?
I think that when Bell has become the issue, and the team should be the issue, I think they need to cut ties and get rid of him, and that's all I have to say.
Okay, they will at the end of the season. But in the meantime, I'm trying to look at this. If I want to take a positive outlook on it, it would be this. If he does show up with only 6 weeks remaining in the season, hopefully he'll have fresh legs, he'll get into shape, and he'll be a factor in those final 6 games. The downside of that is he may have cost himself and certainly undermined the entire season by not showing up for the first 9 weeks. And if that happens, he will forever be remembered for that. His goal is to be the richest running back. But the funny thing about that, he already is on a yearly basis. We'll see. Let's go to Rich in Greensburg. What's up, Rich? How you doing?
Good, Bob. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Hey, I have a comment and a question on the Steelers.
Sure.
The comment would be on Bell. What I don't get is, and I actually did a little internet research, there's some websites you can look at for salary cap reasons, projecting next year's caps for most teams that could afford to sign Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these teams are going to be teams that are terrible teams year after year.
Right.
So you're willing to basically leave a team like the Steelers, who offered you some guaranteed money, to stay on a team that could win year after year after year, to go to a team where you're going to get paid, but probably will have a terrible offensive line, which will probably get you beat up, and you're going to lose. And then my question is, they restructured Hayward's deal earlier this week, which pushing money back to future years, it didn't make a lot of sense to me, because now they have almost $13 million in cap room. And do you maybe think they might be looking to make a defensive upgrade, maybe a trade?
They could be. I mean, only they know the answer to that. But you're right, it is unusual given that it wasn't necessary right now for this particular time. But if they have thoughts of doing something more, and they may know that their defense isn't good enough, we'll find out as this season begins. They have, I would say, depth issues at a lot of positions. Inside linebacker is one of them. I look at the offensive line, and I see potential injuries causing a lot of problems there. So you always have to have some stash, but at the same time, that's a lot, and I don't know that they needed to do that. Let's go out to Brad in Duncansville. Hey, Brad, how are you?
Good, Bob. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
I'm going to give my Steelers score for tomorrow for you.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say 34-21 Pittsburgh.
Oh, lots of points.
And my Steeler comment is that they need to get rid of Bell because he's causing distraction, and they don't need that on the field. It's not fair to all the other players on the field that work their butt off to compete.
Well, and that's how they're looking at it, too. Again, it goes back, Brad, to his word. He basically promised them he would do the same thing as he did last year, which is to show up week 1, be ready to play, and he's not doing that. So that's why they went off, and I understand it from that point of view. Ramon Foster is the player rep. Thanks for the call. And certainly he wants what's best for Le'Veon Bell in terms of finances, but he also wants him to be true to his word here in this case. They're all trying to win something now because the window is open. It may change next year. Who knows? Le'Veon Bell is going to be a rich man no matter what he does. And 5 years, $70 million. Now, listen, if he were to come here and he's worried about the guarantee, one thing I do know is if he continues to perform, he'll be here for all 5 years. He will cash in on all $70 million. The guarantee is the guarantee. I understand it's a numbers game. But at the same time, look where you are. Look at a chance. Most players want to win championships. Who knows? His goal obviously is just to make as much money. And his goal. He has every right to do it, and within the confines of the CBA, he can go in this course of action. Nothing he's doing is wrong. It was part of their deal. So, but again, it goes back to with his teammates, and I think that hits home with them. Line 4, it's Jay in Pittsburgh. Hey, Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Bob, how you doing today?
What's up, my man?
Nothing much. I just had a couple quick questions, one about Pitt and one about the Pirates.
Okay.
My first one about Pitt is they are a Division I program. Is it this hard to get a pretty good quarterback? Because, I mean, 17 yards for 4 completions is, like, pathetic.
Yeah, I will say, let me answer that before you ask your next one. That would be, when you're on a big stage like this, you talk about hurting recruiting. These games hurt recruiting big time. And then when you hear the announcers, McDonough and Todd Blackledge talk about people leaving at halftime because they don't want to get wet and would rather watch a game at home, none of that helps the overall picture of Pitt football, which has remained the same for really the last 35 years. But go ahead.
Yeah, I can't believe they can't get a quarterback. And second, I was looking at, like, the Pirates. I'm a big Pirate fan. So I was looking at, like, the Cardinals, how they were struggling, and they cut a pretty good manager, and they took off. When are they ever going to cut ties with Hurdle? I mean, you can't blame me for everything, but...
Not now, they're not. I mean, they gave him 4 years. They're not going to eat 3 more of them after this year. The mistake was giving 4 years to either him or Huntington. Both guys I respect, but both guys, I mean, you're judged on, thanks for the call, you're judged on your performance. They stress accountability, but where is it? You know, a lot of this season, unaccountable things have happened, and that's been the case of the last 2 years. Quite frankly, this ownership can be unaccountable because they're not doing what's best in the name of winning. They're doing what's best in the name of making money. You have to pay a little bit more than your comfort zone indicates, and they're not willing to do that. And they're going to have to in this offseason. They need to upgrade. They need some offense, some big bats. They really do. Their pitching potentially can be good, but they need other things beyond that, and we'll see what they do in this offseason. Pete in Squirrel Hill. What's up, Pete?
My friend Bob, how are you tonight?
Good, thanks, Pete.
All right, but 2 points about the Pirates, Bob, if I may. Number one, I'm in 100% total agreement with you. The promise for next year has nothing to do with this season. They stand on their own entity. It's that simple. But what gets me, Bob, I was looking at Major League Baseball Network the other night. They were rating the top 100 prospects in the game.
Right.
The Atlanta Braves have 9. The Oakland A's have 8. The Pittsburgh Pirates have 1 out of the top 100.
I saw that.
Isn't that a glaring example of Neil Huntington's inability to scout talent and draft it? What's your feedback on that?
The answer is absolutely yes. Your system better be stockpiled with a lot of people, especially if you're the market like this. They say they're small market. Okay, I don't like that terminology, as I said before, because that's your own perception of what you are. If you want to spend money, you could be a big market. If you choose not to, you won't. The system stinks. It always has. It favors big teams with big markets, with big-size metropolitan people. Bottom line is, the only way to offset that is to draft better, develop better. We've not seen that on a regular basis. How many position players have we seen in the last 10 years who've really been really good, come up through the system? I mean, difference makers. We haven't seen hardly any. And like you said, I saw that report, 1 in the top 100. You know, those are all subjective, by the way. There are a lot of different people out there assessing talent. And some guys could come at you that you don't expect and turn into good things. The good thing for them, they have some good young starting pitching, you would think. But they have to go out and spend some money to augment what they have on offense, because right now it will not get the job done. We got to take a break. Pitt continues to trail. People leave the stadium. We'll be back with more of your thoughts right here live on Pittsburgh CW.